Uganda's parliament was created as part of the country's journey from colonial rule to self-government and independence. Before independence, Uganda was governed by the British colonial administration, which controlled most political decisions. Africans had little representation in government during the early years of colonial rule. The first step toward creating parliament came in 1921 when the British established the Legislative Council, commonly known as LegCo. This council was created to make laws for the Uganda Protectorate. However, it mainly served the interests of the local government and European settlers. At first, Africans were not to join the council. The members were mostly British officials and a few Asians. As pressure for African representation grew, the colonial government slowly introduced reforms. In 1945, the first African representatives were appointed to the Legislative Council. This marked an important turning point because Ugandans had finally begun participating in lawmaking. During the 1950s, political awareness increased across Uganda. Political parties such as the Democratic Party, DP, Uganda People's Congress, UPC, and Kabaka KY emerged and demanded self-rule. Elections became more common and Ugandans started choosing representatives to speak for them. In 1961, Uganda held its first major national elections. These elections prepared the country for self-government and independence. The Legislative Council gradually transformed into a national parliament that would represent independent Uganda. On 9th October 1962, Uganda officially gained independence from Britain. The following day, Uganda's first independent parliament was opened. The new parliament replaced the colonial Legislative Council and became the official lawmaking body of the country. The structure of parliament was influenced by the British Westminster system. Members of parliament were elected to represent different areas of the country, while the Speaker of Parliament was chosen to guide debates and maintain order in the House. Uganda's first parliament had the responsibility of building a new nation. It debated laws, approved government spending, and discussed issues affecting citizens. The country's first leaders used parliament to shape policies on education, health, infrastructure, and national unity. The comprehensive list of leaders of Uganda's parliament from the colonial era transition up to the current leadership is detailed below. Sir John Griffin, who served between 1962 to 1963, a British lawyer who previously served as the Chief Justice of Uganda between 1952 to 1958. He became the first Speaker of the National Assembly at independence. Narendra Patel, 1963 to 1971, the first non-European and first Ugandan of Indian descent to serve as Speaker. His tenure ended abruptly when Idi Amin seized power in a 1971 military coup. And suspended parliament. Professor Edward Rugumayo, 1979 to 1980, served as the chairman of the interim parliament established to oversee the transition after the overthrow of Idi Amin. Francis K. Butajira, 1980 to 1985, elected as just 38 years old, making him the youngest speaker in Ugandan history. His term concluded following the July 1985 military coup. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, 1986 to 1996. As the leader of the National Resistance Movement, NRM, President Museveni legally served as the chairman of the legislative body. However, the day-to-day sessions were primarily presided over by the vice chairman, Alhaj Moses Chigongo. James Wapahablo, 1996 to 1998, the first speaker elected following promulgation of a landmark 1995 constitution. He is widely remembered for his highly disciplined and widely respected mastery of parliamentary procedure. Francis Ayum, 1998 to 2001, a permanent legal mind and former Attorney General who took over the speakership mid-term after James transitioned into a cabinet role. Edward Chiwanuka Sekandi, 2001 to 2011, served 2 full terms as Speaker, steering the transition during the 2005 referendum, which brought back the multi-party democratic political framework. He later became the Vice President of Uganda. Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga, 2011 to 2021, made history as the first female Speaker of Parliament of Uganda. She occupied the chair for a decade and wielded profound legislative influence. Jacob Olanya, 2021 to 2022. Elected in May 2021, Olanya tragically fell ill and passed away in office in March 2022. He stands as the shortest-serving speaker in the country's legislative history. Anita Anat Among, 2022 to 2026, elevated from Deputy Speaker to Speaker via election in March 2022 to complete the remainder of the 11th Parliament's term following Olanya's passing. She concluded her speakership tenure at the tail end of the 11th Parliament's calendar. Although Uganda later experienced political crises, military coups, and periods when parliament was suspended, the institution survived and continued to evolve. The 1995 constitution strengthened parliament and gave it clearer powers, including making laws, overseeing government work, and representing citizens.